Heather McPherson, thank you for joining us.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
So you are the only one of the candidates that actually has political experience here in Ottawa. But despite that experience, based on what we saw from Elections Canada at the start of this year, Avi Lewis is outpacing you when it comes to fundraising. Does that make you an underdog in this race?
Yeah, I mean, Avi's got the money, but I think we've got a lot of momentum. We've got a lot of support. There's so many volunteers. There's so many people that want to be part of our campaign. It's been exciting, and frankly, since Christmas, we've been breaking our fundraising targets every single month.
So, and again, like, I mean, when you look at Elections Canada, that was basically up to and including December the 31st.
Yeah.
Have you been able to make up that ground?
We're doing really well, and people are being very, very supportive from across the country. I've been really impressed and excited with all of the support we're getting, and the momentum that I feel is building in this campaign. You know, as I travel across the country, people are recognizing how important it is that we have a strong New Democratic Party, that we have a party that can get to work right away. You know, this rebuilding needs to start on day one. It needs to be something that we're focused on, and I think people see, you know, you mentioned, I'm the only one that has a seat in the House of Commons. I'm the only one with the experience winning my seat, so that's something I'll be able to get to work doing on the 1st.
And is that what is resonating? You talk about being excited by the people you meet. Is the experience what resonates with him, or is it something else?
I think it's the experience. I mean, I have a track record. I have, you know, people have seen my performance in the House. I think that helps for sure. But we've got some great, our team has built this platform that I'm very, very proud of. You know, we're focusing on things like housing, like jobs, particularly for young people, like the healthcare system, making sure that it stays public. So I think it's a combination. You know, I can go into the House of Commons and I can push the government on their failures to protect our healthcare system. And I also can bring forward policies that would make the national housing crisis that we're facing, you know, that would solve that. I think it's a good combination.
Mm-hmm. So compare and contrast that then, because there are 4 other people running for the leadership. How does that give you an advantage that they do not have?
Well, you know, we're New Democrats. We share the same values. You know, we share the same ideas. And if you listen to one of our debates, you'll hear, you know, there are a lot of things that we all have in common. We all want to make Canada a better, more just, more fair place for all Canadians. You know, we're all proud of being New Democrats because we know what New Democrats have delivered for Canadians. But we need to win more seats to be able to do that. We need to elect more New Democrats so we can actually deliver on that. And I think that's something I've shown I can do. You know, my seat in Edmonton is actually one of the strongest seats that we have in the NDP in Alberta. And we've built from there. You know, we've used the riding association, we've used what we've got in Edmonton, Strathcona to help ridings around us. I think that's something that it's a track record I've got.
Mm-hmm. And how do you apply that? You know, you mentioned the fact that right now the party's in a position it doesn't want to be. You only have 7 members in the House of Commons. The last election was rough for you, and maybe it's a good time to talk about how you would address the rebuild, because anyone who takes over this party will have to rebuild it from 7 seats to something that is more substantive, let alone an official party in the House of Commons.
And I'm going to go back as well to the fact that it is urgent that we rebuild this party. You know, in the House of Commons right now, what we're seeing is both the Conservatives and the Liberals taking a swing to the right. There is nobody that is standing up and fighting for working class Canadians, that is actually talking about healthcare, that is talking about, you know, the housing crisis and dealing with it in a way that doesn't reward corporations. So the urgency of rebuilding that party is so important. And I think we do that. We do that by going and talking to Canadians. You know, I think we stopped welcoming people into our party. One of the parts of my campaign is building a bigger table. And it's the idea that if you are a Canadian citizen who wants to look after your neighbor, whether that neighbor is next door or around the world, if you are a Canadian who believes in a strong, universally accessible public health care system, somebody who believes in taking care of our climate, you know, those are New Democrats. If you share the values with New Democrats, you should feel you can vote for us. And I think one of the things that Canadians are seeing, or I certainly hope they are, is when there isn't a strong New Democratic Party within the House of Commons, nobody is holding this government accountable for the promises they made. I mean, I'll go back once more to housing. The Prime Minister promised twice as much money to be devoted to the national housing crisis that Canadians are facing than he delivered just 6 months later. And without New Democrats pushing, we've seen the choices that this government makes, and it's not always for working class Canadians.
Okay. New Democrats pushing, and that for me evokes the supply and confidence agreement of the party under the leadership of Jagmeet Singh. Was that a mistake for the NDP?
I'm very, very proud of what we were able to accomplish with that. I have spoken to Canadians from coast to coast to coast. I've spoken to folks in Edmonton. I spoke to a single mom whose kids saw the dentist for the first time. That's why I'm here. That's why we all should be in politics, right? It's to get those things for Canadians. 6 million Canadians saw a dentist that had never seen a dentist before. The pharmacare framework is there and ready to be lived up to. We've got workers' rights that have been enshrined in law. So I'm proud of what we accomplished. I think that we didn't communicate as well as we needed to. I don't think we got the wins for that. I think part of that was our fault. I think part of that was the fact that Donald Trump changed the election question. But I'm still extraordinarily proud of what 25 New Democrats were able to do in the last Parliament, versus 100 and some Conservatives that I'm not sure what they got done for their constituents.
Okay, so if you had been party leader in the last federal election, what would you have done differently to come out, accepting the fact that Donald Trump was this massive existential threat in the midst of the last campaign? Mm-hmm. What would you have done to perhaps secure more seats than the 7 the New Democrats were able to get?
Well, I will say, as the foreign affairs critic, I think that I have a good understanding of foreign affairs. I have a good understanding of some of the global challenges that we're facing, and I don't want to simplify this. Donald Trump is chaotic. He is causing global chaos, and he's a massive, massive challenge for our government, for our economy. But I think we needed to be talking about what a progressive response to Donald Trump would be. I think we needed to talk to Canadians about what our proposal for that was. And from my perspective, I think having, economic strength within our country is some of the best ways that we build our economic sovereignty, that we protect our sovereignty, our national sovereignty. We need to be building more things with Canadian workers, with Canadian materials. We need to reduce interprovincial trade barriers. We do need to develop trade relationships with other partners. We were overly dependent on the United States well before Donald Trump came in. This is a correction that should have happened previously, and now this is of course forcing us to do this in a much more accelerated manner. But I think we needed to talk to people about the fears that they were really feeling. Were they going to lose their jobs? How was the NDP going to fight to protect it? And I think that's something I would do differently as leader. I look at the agreements or the bailouts that we've seen from this current administration. I look at Algoma Steel, where $500 million was given to bail out the steel industry, which I agree with. I think that was necessary, but 1,000 people lost their jobs. Like there should have been strings tied to that money to ensure that Canadian workers were kept employed.
Mm-hmm. So, say you win this leadership race. Say you become the.
I feel like I need to knock on wood.
I know. I wish I had something to give you. Paper comes from wood. If you want to knock on that. Say you win. You say you win this leadership, and you are the next NDP leader. How do you deploy your caucus? You and the 6 additional NDP members in the House of Commons. How do you deploy that to make any type of impact with this government?
Well, first of all, I'm not so certain that this government wants to be influenced. Mr. Carney has not really shown an appetite to working with any of the opposition. He doesn't seem to respect how Parliament works. So, you can only dance if somebody wants to dance. You can only partner if that's something that somebody else wants to do. That said, I think that we should make it very, very clear to the Liberal Party that if they are doing things that are good for Canadians, if they are doing things that will benefit working class Canadians in this country, they will be able to count on New Democrat support. If they are doing things that are helping their corporate friends, if they are doing things that are making life harder for Canadians, which we are seeing time and time again, then they can't count on our support. We won't be there for that. I'm going into the House of Commons. I go in every day to make sure that this country becomes a more fair, just place for working class Canadians, to make sure that the people who right now are getting left behind have somebody fighting for them.
National unity is going to be an issue in this country.
Sure is.
We know that your home province the government there, the UCP government, will be putting 9 questions to Albertans to vote on, referenda to vote on, some of them touching on the Constitution. If you are the leader, even if you're not the leader of the NDP, federal NDP, what do you see as your role in those referenda questions?
I've thought about this a lot, and I do think that I have a really important role in this as the only New Democrat in Alberta, the only federal representative that is in fact not government or the Conservatives. I do think I play an important role, and I think, like all politicians across this country, we should all be able to say, I'm an extraordinarily proud Albertan. I'm proud of what Alberta has done to contribute to Canada, but I am also a staunch, proud Canadian, and the Canada I love includes Quebec. The Canada I love includes Alberta. And we need to be pushing back on the divisive rhetoric that we see Danielle Smith and her Conservative government fueling. We need to be recognizing, of course, that there are concerns, that there are concerns with provinces across the country. People are they're able to raise those concerns, and we should be listening to that, and we should be trying to fix those. But you don't take your toys and leave. And right now, I'm concerned about the foreign interference that's become clear is involved in that. We see the United States, there is money coming from the United States into Alberta that is being used to fuel this divisive rhetoric. But I would call on Danielle Smith to be extraordinarily clear where she stands, because those questions, those referendum questions, they are divisive, they are racist, they are dangerous, and I think she is playing with fire at a time where we should be building unity, not separating.
Okay, you mentioned Quebec, and that is the other potential national unity challenge if the Parti Québécois wins the next provincial election, if they follow through on their promise to have a referendum on independence. How can you, and to be fair, how can any of the leadership hopefuls in the NDP stand up for Canada for national unity in Quebec if none of the candidates have fluency in French?
Well, and this is something I'm working on. I work on it every single day. It is a priority for me. My riding in Edmonton, Strathcona is actually the French quarter for Franco-Albertans. It's been a priority. It's a challenge. It's hard to learn a language to be fully bilingual, but it's a priority for me. It's something I work on a lot. I think all of the candidates recognize that there is no path for the NDP that doesn't include Quebec, that doesn't include us having wins in Quebec, and for me, we'll keep working on it. I'm going to be planning on spending quite a lot of time. We have seen other federal leaders that did not come into their position being fully bilingual, and I guess maybe I can thank the Prime Minister for lowering the bar for us all.
Okay. So as you and I talk, we're days away from when members of the NDP will start voting for the next leader of the party. What will you be doing between now and the end of March when the winner of the leadership race is revealed?
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking to just as many New Democrats as I possibly can. We have a whole series of events set up. We have Zoom calls where I'll be meeting with regional groups. We have meetings in person. I'll be attending International Women's Day events. I'll be, really, I'm going to try to be everywhere all at once, which is always the case for parliamentarians, but it's amplified, I guess, in this situation. And then I have a fantastic team, and our team and the hundreds of volunteers that are part of our crew, we will be making sure that as many New Democrats as possible vote. So we will be reaching out. Vote early, everyone.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming by the studio. Heather McPherson, thank you for that.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the interview. It was great.